ABC24 This Week starts right now.
Hello, and thank you for joining us on ABC24 This Week. I'm your host, Pepper Baker. You are here for the real stories behind the big stories, and I hope you'll join us every Sunday at 9 a.m., 10:35 p.m., or by streaming 24+. All right, big show today. Let's see who's at the table. As always, ABC24 political analyst Otis Sanford, Luke Simbel with the Shelby County Republican Party press secretary, and Sam Hardiman reporting for the Daily Memphian. So thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right, let's get to the topics. First, the leader of the free world is coming to Memphis on Monday. What to expect as President Donald Trump highlights the Memphis Safe Task Force's work. Then, after the Memphis Shelby County School Board's big superintendent announcement a couple of weeks ago, we'll discuss why they went back this week and voted to keep Dr. Roderick Richmond on his interim superintendent contract. Lastly, a small misstep could cost State Representative G.A. Hardaway his District 93 seat. But let's get back to number one. So the White House confirmed this week that President Donald Trump is expected to visit Memphis on Monday to highlight the work of the Memphis Safe Task Force. Now, this joint local, state, and federal crime fighting initiative started late last September with the National Guard deployment following about 2 weeks later. Since then, the task force reported more than 7,100 arrests. Dozens of those are tied to homicides, and then over 1,000 illegal guns taken off Memphis streets. Shelby County Mayor Lee Harris led a joint effort suing Governor Bill Lee over the National Guard deployment, claiming Lee's decision did not follow the state constitution. And then Memphis Mayor Paul Young has taken a little bit of a different approach with his messaging, emphasizing that although no one asked for the National Guard deployment, he would work collaboratively in the best interest of Memphians while the task force is here. So I'm going to open it up to Luke here. So Luke, tell us how you're feeling about President Donald Trump coming to town.
Sure. I mean, I think I'm really excited. Republicans are really excited. And we knew that when the task force was announced, when the task force was sent to Memphis, that the President of the United States would likely come at some point, and that point is now. We have serious crime is down 45 to 50%. Calls to 911 are down 10 to 15%. I was just looking at the city of Memphis numbers before I walked in, and the culture has changed completely in the city of Memphis. People feel that crime is down. The perception on the city has changed. I was talking to a young man who works for the city of Memphis earlier today, and he said that when he's having conversations now with businesses, with leaders across the state, the first question is not about crime. It's actually a positive message of, hey, we hear you're cleaning things up. And it's a lot easier to highlight Memphis when you're not constantly being asked about some of the downsides. And so I think it's a great opportunity to highlight the success, and we look forward to him coming.
Do you plan to be joining that visit at all?
I have been invited. We will see if I'll be there.
All right, Sam, so we talk about the Memphis Safe Task Force numbers, but can you give a little more context? The messaging has been violent criminals, but from reporting that you've read or maybe even done yourself, who's kind of being arrested here? Or what's the nature of these arrests, I should say?
I mean, it's really complicated, like a lot of police work, and also the nature of this task force is pretty complicated. There have been a lot of violent criminals arrested. We at the Daily Memphian looked at 2.5 months of the daily situation reports that are sent from the task force to all local law enforcement, all partners. And looking at those, you do find a lot of violent criminals arrested. There were also hundreds of undocumented workers who were pulled over for unclear reasons for traffic stops and then arrested for being unlawfully present in the United States, which has led a lot of people in the community to feel unsafe. And many of those people were not arrested for any violent crimes. They were arrested just for being present in the United States. And so you have a really complicated thing here. There have been a lot more chases for the Tennessee Highway Patrol in terms of chases and criminals on the highway. And so it's been a balancing act, and you've seen that, I think, from Police Chief C.J. Davis and her rhetoric about it, definitely Memphis Mayor Paul Young, in terms of definitely crime was going down in the city before the task force arrived. It's certainly accelerated since the task force got here. But then there's also the double-edged sword.
Are you surprised to see President Trump come down himself?
No.
Memphis?
No, the president, I think, a lot of the initiatives that they've had in other cities, that administration in other cities have been sort of tossed out by the courts, have had issues with local and state leaders regarding those. In this case, you have a Republican governor who sort of welcomes the federal task force, and it gets to be a crime-touting thing. I don't think the president got that in Chicago or Minneapolis.
All right.
Otis, the big thing here is who will be in the room when President Donald Trump, we think, will address the task force agents. So who do you think will be there? Who won't be there? And what will it say whether they're there or not?
Well, I don't have any inside information on that, but to Luke's point earlier, I know a bunch of Republicans are going to be there. They can't wait to line up there and probably get as close to him as possible for some photo ops. But as we tape this on a Friday, I still have not heard definitively whether Mayor Paul Young is going to be there. He has been unusually coy about whether he will be there. My guess is he will figure out a way not to be there, because there is no political advantage for him to be there, because he will only be a prop standing there as this president who is known to not only stretch the truth but outright lie about things. He said that the crime was down 70% not long ago.
Some of the major crimes are down.
Well,
Some of them are down
crime,
more than others.
Well, he said crime in general in Memphis was down 70%. But that was just one thing that he said that wasn't really true. So again, you're asking who will be there? Well, it's going to be a lot of Republicans who are going to be there. I don't think there's going to be many Democrats at all. But the mayor is really in a tough spot here. Does he show up? Does Chief C.J. Davis show up? I mean, she's the head of the police department, but I don't think that he will, and he'll figure out a way to get out of it, and so it'll be a Republican love fest.
And Luke, what do you think about that? You know, from your perspective, do you think Mayor Young should be seen behind the podium with Donald Trump?
Well, that may not help him politically in a city that votes overwhelmingly Democrat, but I do want to give him credit for not creating a situation that we saw in Minneapolis, where you saw this fighting back and forth between the locals and the feds, and it just did not create a good situation. He is embracing the parts of the task force that he likes. He does mention, he doesn't love ICE being here. He doesn't love the National Guard being here. He didn't ask for that, but he is grateful for the investment that the federal government and the state government is making in cleaning up crime in Memphis. That is only a positive thing. And when I'm out on the streets talking to folks, talking to residents, talking to Memphians, I myself live in Memphis, regardless of party, folks feel overwhelmingly positive about crime being down.
Well, but let's be honest, though, and crime has gone down, and they should take a victory lap on this. But crime has not gone away. I mean, just last weekend, we had a bunch of kids who got shot. I think one or two of them may have been fatal. I don't remember now. So crime is still happening here, and there's really nothing a task force can do when you have people running around with guns, which it appears that I'm throwing a little shade here on the Republicans in Nashville. They're trying to make guns more readily available in state buildings now. So they don't really care about how many people have guns, especially young people in the parks. So, but the fact is, crime is still going on here. But yeah, take a victory lap here, because crime has been going down and people do have a different narrative.
Crime is still high. Memphis had a very high homicide rate 2 years ago.
Absolutely.
Now it still has nationwide a high homicide rate. A plus 20 homicide rate, 20 per 100K homicide rate is very high. And so it's not over, and what hasn't happened yet, and I'm not sure any task force or government initiative has ever done this, the poverty that grips Memphis, that leads people to desperation, that leads people to this crime, that's not going away.
Right. Well, nobody wants to talk about the poverty part. That's not being discussed.
Well, I think I've said it on the show before. I reject the theory that just because you are poor, you are more likely to commit a crime. I think there are a lot more things that go into that, how you were raised. The greatest predictor of whether you are in poverty is whether you were born into a home with two parents. So if we're not talking about those things, I think to address poverty, then it's going to be useless anyway. But what we do know is we can reduce crime regardless of the poverty rate by making changes, by enforcing the law, by having traffic stops. And you had mentioned illegal immigration earlier. With some of these traffic stops, a lot of the problem that we have with high interest rates is because we have a large number of illegal aliens driving without registration and driving without insurance, and that drives the law-abiding citizens rate up. And so I do think that there are things, when you enforce the law, even when it comes to immigration, it has positive benefits in restoring order and giving the law-abiding citizen more credit.
Well,
Last point.
That can't be the last word here when we talk about how some immigrants are being treated here who have not committed any crimes.
Well, if they're here illegally,
let me finish now.
they've committed a
Let me finish here, because there have been plenty of instances where people who have not committed any crime, even Afghan families who were invited here, who helped the country during the Afghan conflicts, they were rounded up and hauled away. So I just think that we can't lose sight of the fact that in some cases, immigrants are being mistreated, they are not getting their due process, and that's part and parcel of this conversation, even as we say that crime is going down and the task force deserves some credit.
Okay, we are running out of time on that one, otherwise we won't have time for the rest of the show. Great segment. When we come back, interim superintendent or superintendent, we'll clear up MSCS's board's recent decision when we come back.